The twin moons of Vera 9 cast pale light through the jungle canopy, their glow catching on silver leaves and jagged vines. Daniel Mercer moved carefully through the alien wilderness, his boots crunching softly over damp moss. The exploration crew was supposed to stay near the landing site, but Daniel had heard something that wouldn't let him rest. At first, he thought it was a predator's cry, but the longer he listened, the more certain he became. It was a scream, high-pitched, agonized, not an animal. Someone was in danger, beginning the firelit scene. Daniel gripped the sidearm strapped to his hip, though it felt woefully inadequate. He wasn't a soldier. He was a xenobiologist, here to study the plant life. Yet his feet carried him deeper into the jungle, following the intermittent shrieks that rose and fell like a beacon. Finally, he reached a break in the foliage. What he saw froze him in place. A clearing stretched before him, filled with a ring of primitive shelters made of bones, sticks, and woven vines. In the center burned a massive fire, its flames clawing at the sky. Around it danced a dozen tall, broad-shouldered aliens. Their skin was rough and mottled like stone, their eyes glowing amber in the firelight. Each carried crude spears and wore necklaces of teeth. And above the flames, tied to a wooden spit, was the source of the screams. A girl. She wasn't human. Her skin shimmered faintly with metallic hues, her hair cascading in threads of deep violet. Her glowing eyes squeezed shut as she writhed against the bonds, the fire's heat licking dangerously close. The tribe jabbed her with sticks, laughing as she flinched. Daniel's got twisted. She was being grilled alive. He ducked back into the shadows, heart hammering. Logic screamed at him to retreat, to call for help, to do anything but interfere. But every cry tore into him like a blade. He couldn't watch her die. The desperate rescue. Daniel waited until the tribe's chanting reached its peak, their attention focused on the fire. Then, moving as silently as he could, he crept around the perimeter. His mind raced. There were too many of them. A frontal assault was suicide. His eyes darted to his belt. He had only a sidearm with limited charge, a knife, and a small plasma cutter for field work. Not enough. But perhaps distraction could be his weapon. He picked up a rock and hurled it into the trees on the far side of the clearing. The sound cracked through the jungle. Instantly, several tribesmen spun toward it, snarling, spears raised. A few broke off to investigate. Daniel seized a chance. He darted toward the fire, heat searing his skin as he neared the spit. The girl's eyes snapped open in shock as he approached. "Quiet," he whispered, slashing at the vines with his knife. The fibers resisted, tougher than any rope, but after several frantic cuts, they frayed and snapped. The girl fell forward into his arms, trembling and coughing from the smoke. "Can you walk?" he urged. She nodded weakly. Her voice was barely a rasp. "Yes, but hurry." Shouts rang out. One of the tribesmen had spotted them. A spear hurtled through the air, grazing Daniel's shoulder. Pain fled, but adrenaline pushed him on. "Run," he barked. Together they sprinted into the jungle, branches whipping against their faces. Behind them, furious roars and drums filled the night as the tribe gave chase. Flight through the jungle. For nearly an hour, they fled. Daniel led them along uneven ground, across streams, and through dense undergrowth, trying to shake their pursuers. But the tribesmen were relentless, their glowing eyes haunting the shadows. At last, they collapsed near a rocky outcrop. Daniel leaned against a stone, chest heaving. The alien girl slumped beside him, her skin still glowing faintly from the fire's heat. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice carried a melodic quality despite its weakness. "I couldn't just stand by," Daniel said, wincing as he inspected his bleeding shoulder. She reached out, pressing her palm gently over the wound. Her skin glowed brighter, and warmth spread through him. The pain ebbed, the bleeding slowing until it stopped entirely. Daniel stared. "You healed me." She nodded. Small gift of my people, but it drains me. He studied her properly now. Her features were delicate yet strong, her luminous eyes filled with both gratitude and sorrow. I'm Daniel, he said softly. Elira, she replied. Secrets revealed. As they rested, Elira explained her story. She was from Lythra, a crystalline world beyond the galactic rim. Her ship had been shot down by raiders, and she crashed on Vera 9 days ago. The tribes found her before she could repair her beacon. They see me as a spirit, she said bitterly, one to feed their flames, a sacrifice to their gods. Daniel clenched his fists. They won't have you again. But he knew the danger wasn't over. The tribes would hunt them until dawn. And even if they escaped, Elira had no way off this world without outside help. They had only each other. Rising conflict. The next day, Daniel led Elira toward his expedition's camp. But when they arrived, the site was destroyed. Tents torn apart, supplies scattered, equipment smashed. His heart sank. The tribes had struck while he was gone. His team was missing. We can't stay here, Daniel muttered. They'll come for us, Elira said, eyes scanning the trees. They want me back. He tightened his grip on the sidearm. Then we fight. Climax, the final stand. Night fell again, and with it came the drums. The jungle lit with torchlight as the tribe surrounded them. Daniel and Elira took cover among the wreckage, the firelight casting long shadows. When the first wave charged, Daniel fired his sidearm, the plasma bolts dropping 2 attackers. But there were dozens more. Spears rained down, forcing him to duck behind debris. Elira stepped forward, her body shimmering with radiant light. She raised her hands, and a pulse of energy erupted, throwing the nearest tribesman back. But the effort drained her, and she stumbled. Daniel caught her. Easy. Don't overdo it. I must, she whispered, or they will never stop. Summoning the last of her strength, Elira unleashed a brilliant wave of energy that lit the jungle like a second sun. The tribe shrieked, blinded and terrified. One by one, they scattered into the darkness, fleeing from the light they had once sought to consume. When the glow faded, Elira collapsed in Daniel's arms, ending a bond forged. The jungle was silent again. The tribes did not return. Daniel carried Elira to the edge of the clearing, where the wreckage of her ship lay. Together, they salvaged what they could, piecing together a makeshift beacon. For days they worked, side by side, sharing stories of their worlds and their people. Finally, the beacon sparked to life, broadcasting into the stars. As they waited for rescue, Daniel looked at Elira. When I heard your screams, I thought it was just some animal. But something in me knew I couldn't ignore it. Her violet eyes softened. And when you came, I thought it was the end. But it was a beginning. The two stood together beneath Vera 9's twin moons, bound not by chance but by survival, their fates intertwined in a galaxy that suddenly felt far less lonely. For Daniel, the screams had led him not to terror, but to hope. And for Elira, the fire meant not her death, but her rebirth.